Continuing our theme this week of sort of more psychological aspects of how you achieve financial success. I think that was a good conversation in that last segment about what hacks that you can use to sort of trick your mind and make better financial decisions, Rob. And in this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about mindset and perspective, because I think all of these sort of interlay with each other, don't they?
Right. So we know that, financial success is not just about the income, the investments, the budgeting. It's kind of how we think about money. And so there's some people have a thought process of scarcity where they're scared, there's not enough. Other people have sort of a thought process of abundance where they have positive thoughts. And those two thought processes have a dramatic effect on how the decisions you make when it comes to your investments.
No, it's certainly, a powerful concept. And when we think about, kind of some different perspectives, you can have sort of a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset. And that really changes your perspective on how you look at in investing and how you ultimately approach money.
Exactly. So if you have this, what we call the scarcity mindset, where you're kind of on the negative side, you believe that there's not enough money, there's not enough time, there's not enough opportunities, there's no security. And so that mindset then kind of shifts you over to be worried and to have fears and to think negative. And that's just not going to be, that's just not healthy. So, we want to talk about avoiding those kind of things. So, I would ask you, and when some of the meetings you have with our clients, do you see some scarcity that you have to overcome?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, fear of the future, fear of the market. I mean, what's going to happen tomorrow? Politics headline. I mean, it's constant. And again, that's a normal human trait, right? So It's hard to not have that. But I think what we're talking about in this segment is to try and kind of be aware of that and try and shift to a little bit more of what we would refer to as more of almost a more of an abundance mindset, if you will.
Right, because then abundance doesn't mean you're ignoring risk. You're being honest. You're using common sense. You're just sort of taking the mindset that there are opportunities out there, and that I can make progress, and that money is a tool. It's not a problem, and I can work with it, and I can protect myself. And that leads to kind of a positive attitude. And then from there, that kind of helps to think clearly about the long-term ramifications of your decisions.
No, I think that also then helps you to kind of get more in tune with some of these concepts that we talk about more broadly, things like budgeting, things like saving on a regular basis. I think, if you're looking at the mindset, in order to shift, I think we've got some practical strategies that we wanted to talk about in this segment of how you can kind of help yourself psychologically, because at the end of the day, I mean, here's the powerful concept that I think runs through today's program. Wealth is built through hundreds of sort of small, intentional choices that are done consistently over a long period of time. I mean, I think that's sort of the core theme, if you will, of making those decisions. Not have to be big, but hundreds of small ones add up over the course of your lifetime. When made consistently, that ultimately lead to more abundance than you would have originally expected. That's for sure.
Right. And if you shift over to the abundance thinking, it's not wishful thinking. It's not dreaming. It's not sort of like living in a fantasy world. It's very, very practical. It's just being positive. And your emotions and the way you feel, if you're running around being negative all day long, you're not going to suddenly have success in a bunch of different areas. You're just going to get sucked into the negativity. Go ahead.
No, okay, go on. Yeah.
Well, I would say if you step back and say, okay, I can do this. I am ready to make these decisions. You do put yourself on a better path. And so we do have, we want you to shift if you're thinking scarcity to abundance. And we do have kind of the five thoughts that we said that, get you more on that positive side. And I think you could take these and use it in a variety of things, but for investments, it's very, very important. First of all, practice gratitude, right? Be grateful for what you have, what you've done so far. If you're behind where you think you should be in retirement, don't look at that, just think, hey, I'm at this point and we can move forward. Every time we have a client come in, a lot of times they're like, oh, I know you think I should have saved more. And we're like, no, you've done very well. Here's where you are, and we can work with you on this. Again, we have no account minimums, and we simply just try to explain that if this is your objective and this is where you are right now, we can get you a little farther. And when it comes to retirement, here's what retirement looks like for you. So be grateful for where you are, and we'll take it from there.
Great story, Rob, because we do see that a lot where people are almost apologetic.
Right.
In some of the conversations we have, and more often than not, those that apologize the most are the ones that actually, wait a minute, you're in pretty good shape, so let's not beat yourself up on this. I mean,
right.
to be appreciative of sort of what you've done, which I guess leads to the next one, which is why people are coming in to obviously talk to us, and that's the notion of trying to educate yourself, learning about budgeting, saving, investing, trying to understand sort of what that overall picture looks like for your finances. So beyond just sort of practicing gratitude, making sure that you're taking the time to sort of educate yourself as well. Pretty powerful concept there that again runs through all of the years that we've been doing this podcast.
Right, and that's what we do. When our initial meetings are to educate you about your options, educate you about us. When we do our seminars, we bring in guest speakers. It's education related, because to shift into a positive attitude, you need to learn things that can help you think that way. So we're here to educate you and feed you some information to help you understand the direction you're going, why it's a positive direction.
The next strategy that we came up with, Rob, on this list, I think is a really important one, particularly in today's world. What's sort of the next strategy that we've kind of highlighted on how to help people?
Well, I think of it as the positive influences, right?
Yeah.
We live in an age in which negativity sells. People are always coming to us. We never have somebody call us and say, I heard this positive article and I want to talk about it. It's always like, well, I saw this guy and he was telling me this bad thing is going to happen and I need to react to it. Those people will suck you down. They will put you back into the scarcity mode. You want to be around positive people. You want to be around positive atmospheres. And that's why when people come in and we're chatting with them, it's a very happy time. We can help create a positive atmosphere for your investments.
Well, and I think that also thinking of it from sort of the content that's out there. I think far too often the algorithms, you start clicking anything that's even a little bit on kind of the negative side, you're going to wind up really down that rabbit hole pretty far. And we see it all the time with some of the financial educational content that's out there. A lot of it not very well done, and certainly we would encourage you to seek out kind of more forward-looking financial content, not just kind of sort of 10-second snippets, that's for sure.
Right. And the next one we said was just set clear goals. If you don't set a goal, then you don't really know where you're trying to get to. And if you don't have goals, you don't know how to get to that end result, which would be a positive retirement plan. So, make a goal, stick with it, do things that get you to increase those goals and the success of it.
Well, and this is the last one is one of the things that we talk about in the companion workbook to our book, to our Next Gen Dollars and Cents book. And that is this notion of celebrating small wins. So don't beat yourself up. Okay, keep making small decisions, small wins that ultimately will add up over time. So recognize progress, and because ultimately, if you start recognizing progress, your confidence in your ability and your decision making will continue to improve. And I think that's crucially important when it comes to finances.
Of course, and that's one of the things that when we do a review with our clients is we show them the progress they've made. We talk about any changes to their goals, and we keep them pointed in that direction.
No, absolutely. I'm reminded, when we think about some of the strategies that we've been talking about in this segment, there is a children's book, The Little Engine That Could. Remember that book?
Sure,
Rob?
I read that. Reading that to my grandkids now as we speak.
There you go. Very good.
Good story.
Very good. But the engine said, I think I can. When it comes to financial success, we believe you can, and we want you to think you can as well. We're here to help in any way we can. So visit our website at nelsonfinancialplanning.com to schedule one of our absolutely free conversations to see how we can help you make better decisions with your money. Rob, thanks for joining us on this week's program.
My pleasure. Had a lot of fun. Hope our listeners realize some of this positive things that they can initiate into their investment lives.
Indeed. With that, we'll wrap it on up and get on out of here. This has been Dollars and Cents with Joel Garris, Rob Field of Nelson Financial Planning.